Good afternoon, everyone. Sim, você está gostando? Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for your time and opportunity. So, we are from group 6, and before we start, I would like to introduce ourselves. My name is Yusufina Huit. My name is Hikmah Samaranbat. My name is Juliana Hawisi.
My name is Rial Mirzakelo.
So everyone, our topic today about English syntax. So this topic has three materials. The first is word classes and phrases, and the second is classes and sentence, and the third is clauses function. So in the end of our presentation, there will be question section, and so I hope you can pay attention well. So if you don't understand, you can ask. Now we're going to start the presentation and start from the clauses and phrases.
Baik, saya akan membawakan materi tentang word classes and phrases. Word classes and phrases are very closely linked. A phrase named after the word class that acts as head of the phrase. Noun phrase. Noun have traditionally been distinguished as being count or noun count. Although most count nouns take the regular plural ending some like ox, take an irregular plural ending oxen. Next, table 5.1. Bentuk tunggal dan jamak yang dipinjam dari bahasa lain akhiran on, singular, kriterion, dan plural kriteria. Dipinjam ke dalam bahasa Inggris dari bahasa Yunani kuno. Sometimes borrowing of this type will have both regular and irregular forms. Concerto dipinjam ke dalam bahasa Inggris as concertos atau bahasa Italia i concerti. Tidak ada penanda jamak yang jelas sama sekali. Misalnya one there, two there. Terkadang kata benda pada kategori ini juga memiliki bentuk jamak biasa. Misalnya ahli biologi sering menggunakan fishes daripada fish. No singular but only a plural form, e.g. scissors but not scissor. Bentuk ini umumnya ditemukan pada benda yang memiliki dua bagian. Contohnya seperti dua bilah pada gunting atau dua kaki pada celana. Some nouns have both count and noun count form. For example, water is a non-count noun since it is being distinguished to describe a liquid of unknown quantity. Next, table 5.2. Pronoun have three person. First person pronoun are directed toward the speaker or writer. Second person pronoun toward the addresses, and third person pronoun to someone or something being distinguished. Kata ganti orang pertama dan ketiga mempunyai bentuk subjektif dan objektif. Kata ganti orang bentuk subjektif digunakan ketika kata ganti berfungsi sebagai subjek klausa. Misalnya, I like pizza atau she jogs daily. Lalu bentuk objektif digunakan ketika kata ganti berfungsi sebagai objek dalam klausa atau sebagai objek preposisi. Misalnya, my mother called us atau the burden of proof is on them. Indefinite pronouns seperti someone dan none occur only in the third person and have only a single form unlike first and second person pronouns. They do not change form in subject or object position. Next diagram. The first position in the noun phrase can contain a class of word called determinative, yang merupakan bagian dari frasa determinatif. Kata ini termasuk artikel a, and, dan the. The second position, if the noun phrase contains a determinative phrase, is occupied by adjective phrases. Adjective can sometimes be indicated by the suffix that they contain the adjective, yaitu kata sifat yang dapat diukur skala, yang panjangnya satu atau dua suku kata akan memiliki bentuk komparatif dan superlatif yang masing-masing diakhiri dengan R dan S. Contohnya small, smaller, smallest, nice, nicer, dan nicest. Kata sifat yang lebih panjang akan menggunakan more atau most sebagai nantinya. Contohnya beautiful most atau beautiful more. Head adjective didahului dengan kata keterangan yang intensifikasi seperti very or somewhat. Contohnya, the people in the wheelchairs in the group are already very proficient dancer. Contoh kedua, this somewhat idiosyncratic interpretation is no doubt colored by the specificity of French history. Next, table 5.3. Frasa kata benda ini berisi beberapa contoh penyematan. Contohnya, act successful mob violence against the authority of the church and nobility. Kata benda utama dari frasa tersebut act, diikuti dengan frasa preposisi yang diawali dengan of. Frasa preposisi ini mengandung frasa kata benda yang disematkan, yaitu successful mob violence. Di dalam frasa kata benda ini, mob violence adalah frasa preposisi lain yang diawali dengan against, yang objeknya the authority, mengandung frasa preposisi tambahan yang disematkan, yaitu of the church nobility. The verb phrase are constant component and obligatory lexical verb or full verb to use their terminology, which acts as head of the verb phrase and one or more optional auxiliary verbs. If there are any auxiliary verbs in the verb phrase, they will always precede the lexical verb with modal auxiliary coming first and primary auxiliary second. Next, table 5.4. Regular verbs have two characteristics. They will always contain the same set of verbs ending S and L. The stems of irregular verbs do not remain constant but sometimes contain internal vowel change. Fight misalnya menjadi fa dalam bentuk lampau. Next, table 5.5. Be has so many forms because it makes distinctions that other verbs do not. For instance, while regular verbs in the present tense end in S. Be memiliki tiga bentuk yang berbeda dalam present tense yang berbeda berdasarkan orang. Misalnya, I'm with first person, I, and is with third person, he, she, it. Selain itu, be memiliki dua bentuk lampau yang berbeda, was dan were. Next, table 5.6. Mencantumkan semua modal utama dalam bahasa Inggris ditambah beberapa modal frasa pilihan. Ekspresi seperti be going to dianggap sebagai modal karena seperti will ini menyatakan waktu yang akan datang dan muncul di awal frasa kata kerja. Selain itu, perbedaan antara modal can dan could biasanya terletak pada makna. Menggantikan can dan could tidak mengubah bentuk kalimat melainkan maknanya. Next, according to tree diagram in figure 5.1, the two noun phrases and the verb phrase are separate constituents in the sentence labeled as F. The final noun phrase, for instance, is not embedded in the verb phrase. Others, however, have claimed that post-verbal noun phrases such as my mother are not separate constituents in the sentence but embedded in the verb phrase as diagrammed in figure 5.2. Arts and Hegman argue for this analysis on the grounds that call my mother is a single unit rather than separate constituents in the sentence. As support for this claim, they note that if the proverb do were used to substitute for part of the above sentence, do would substitute for both the regular and the verb and noun phrase, not just the verb. Therefore, if someone inquired, "Did you call your mother?" a possible reply would be, "Yes, I did." With did substituting for called my mother, substitution as not earlier is one test for constituency. Materi selanjutnya akan dibawakan oleh saya. Terima kasih.
So everyone, I want to explain to you about clauses and sentence. So, clauses is a unit grammatical organization smaller than sorry. What about clauses? Clauses is a unit grammatical organization smaller than a sentence but larger than a phrases. And a clause is a basic unit of grammar. A clause must contain a verb. Typically, a clause is made up of a subject, a verb phrases, and sometimes a complement. Clauses, there are two types of clauses. The first is independent clause, and the second is dependent clause. So independent clause can stand alone because its meaning is complete. So independent clause dapat berdiri sendiri karena maknanya lengkap. Uh, the second is dependent clause cannot stand on its own because its meaning is not complete. So dependent clause tidak dapat berdiri sendiri karena makna kalimatnya tidak lengkap. For example, independent clause, you can have ice cream, and dependent clause, after you clean your plate. In order to complete a dependent clause, you can have ice cream after you clean your plate independent clause. Jadi dalam kalimat independent clause ini dia maknanya lengkap. Jadi ketika ada kalimat dependent clause yang kalimatnya tidak lengkap, maka harus independent clause ditambahkan dengan dependent clause, maka akan menjadi kalimat yang kompleks. Next, subject and predicate. For example, John is running. John is running is a predicate and is running is a predicate and John is subject. The second is Jack is hungry. Is hungry is a predicate and Jack is subject. And the third is a dog beat the neighbor. Beat the neighbor is a predicate. A dog is a subject. And Lydia look her laptop in a secure drawer. And look her laptop in a secure drawer is a up modifier. And so, what about sentence? A sentence consists of a lead one independent clause, can stand on its own because its meaning is complete. Jadi kalimat terdiri dari paling sedikit satu klausa independen. And a simple sentence for example, the birds are chirping. This is a one independent clause. So this the second is compound sentence. For example, I could drive. He could read maps. So I could drive is an independent clause, and he could read maps is independent clause. So compound sentence. A compound sentence is a sentence that connects to independent clause, typically with a coordinating conjunction like and or but. It is best for combining two or more sentences that are self-sufficient. sufficient but return into single unified one. So complex sentence. A complex sentence is made up of a main clause and a subordinate clauses connected to each other with a subordinating writing, and they are extremely useful or for indication supplicative connection between ideas. For example, I put on my sunglasses and once I left home. So I put on my sunglasses is independent clause and once I left home is dependent clause.
Main and subordinate clause. The main clause is a clause that makes sense on its own and can also exist in a sentence on its own. The subordinate clause is a clause that does not make sense on its own and cannot be a sentence on its own. The subordinate clause explains or completes the meaning in the main clause. Klausa utama adalah klausa yang memiliki makna tersendiri dan juga dapat ada dalam sebuah kalimat tersendiri. Klausa subordinat adalah klausa yang tidak masuk akal dan tidak dapat menjadi kalimat tersendiri. Klausa bawahan menjelaskan atau melengkapi makna dalam kelas utama. To begin describing main and subordinate clauses, it is useful to distinguish between finite and non-finite verb forms. Subordinating conjunction that occur in subordinate clauses. Subordinate conjunction apa saja? Beberapa subordinate conjunction yang dapat menunjukkan hubungan syarat antar klausa adalah if atau jika, unless atau kecuali, dan provided that atau asalkan. The defining characteristic of all main clauses is that they must contain a predicator consisting of finite verb. The predicator is a clause function that includes all the elements making a verb adults. In the three examples below, the predicators occur in a single main clause and are respectively walks, talk, and was thinking. Walks. She just walks away. Talk. We talked about this yesterday too. Was thinking. I was thinking of Turkish yogurt. Each of the predicators, in turn, consists of either a lexical verb or auxiliary that is finite, some verbal element that is marked for tense. Walk is marked for present tense, talked, and wash for past tense. Because each of the examples contains a finite verb and no markers of subordination, each of the example qualifies as a main clause. The clause becomes subordinate if it 1. Lacks a finite verb and instead contains one or more non-finite verbs. Or 2. Is headed by a subordinating conjunction such as when, if, because, or who. English has two aspects, progressive and perfective. Progressive as not about is associated with ing participle. Perfective with ad participle. When these two participles occur in a clause without an accompanying finite verb, the clause will always be subordinate. To illustrate how subordination works, consider example below. The clauses, a subordinate clause followed by a main clause. Seperti yang dijelaskan, main clause adalah sekelompok kata yang mengandung subjek dan predikat sehingga dapat membentuk suatu kalimat utuh. Agar lebih jelas memahaminya, perhatikan contoh main clause berikut. Tidak ada di sini. Pada kalimat tersebut yang menjadi subjek adalah kata the baby dan predikat adalah prior.
Okay, next topic is clause function. So what is clauses? Clauses are the smallest grammatical unit that can express a complete preposition. The structures is contain a subject and a predicate. Verb clauses perform for grammatical function. First is declaration, second exclamation, and then question and comment sentence. So declarative sentence has function to make a statement of any statement, from vitally important information to a minor detail. A declarative sentence can be positive or negative. As you can see in the slide of presentation, there are the example. For the positive, itu ada the sun is shining, and untuk negatifnya ada I'm not hungry. Then in exclamatory sentence. So the sentence is express sudden or strong emotion and feelings. So if you feels like emosi yang kuat, biasanya menggunakan kalimat ini. It ends with an exclamation mark atau yang bisa dikenal dengan tanda seru. Exclamatory sentence usually begin with exclamatory pronouns like what or how to give emphasis the noun or object in the sentence. For example, what a wonderful Ambon is. Okay, next is interrogative sentence. So basically, this sentence used to require an answer. The final punctuation is always a question mark atau tanda tanya. There are three types of this sentence. First is yes no questions, atau yang biasa kita kenal juga dengan pertanyaan ya atau tidak. This sentence called closed questions or polar questions because the answer can be only be yes or no. For the formula, you can see at the slide there. First, auxiliary verbs or modal verbs, and then subjects plus main verb, verb 2. Kemudian ada WH questions. It's always begin with what, when, where, who, whom, which, whose, why, and how. We use them to ask for information. The answer cannot be yes or no. So ini W dan H questions itu untuk menanyakan pertanyaan yang lebih rinci atau yang membutuhkan jawaban yang lebih jelas. Kemudian ada alternative questions. These questions gives a choice of two types of two or more answers in the questions. We use the conjunction or to separate the answer choices. And there are three formula for these types questions. You can see at the slide. And then the last is imperative sentence. We use this express comments to orders or requests and also to give instructions or some advice. This sentence do not require a subject. Imperative sentence can be divided into two main categories according to their nature, namely. There are positive and negative imperative sentence. The verb that used in an imperative sentence should always be in the same simple present tense. Imperative sentence end with a full stop or an exclamation mark. For example, close the door. Next is functions of a noun clause. A noun clause is a dependent clause that works just like a noun in a sentence. The Concise Oxford Dictionary of Linguistic explains a noun clause, a clause whose synthetic role is seen as like that of a noun or noun phrase. Next, adjective clauses. These clauses that give information about nouns. They allow you to combine the sentence into one by using relative pronouns who, when, whose, where, when, which, that, and why as connectors. The last one is adverbial clauses. These clauses that does all the functions of a normal adverb. These clauses can identify an adverb clauses by asking when, where, how, why, and how often. Okay, that's all of our materials. If you have any questions, you can ask. Ada yang mau bertanya? So if you don't have any questions, we close our presentation today. Thank you for your attention and time. Okay, thank you. Jadi gimana? Mau tanya ke sih?
Ayo juga.
Dia boleh
Presentasi sih kan soalnya. Habis ini aja saya tanya. Ketemu sama Suri dulu ya.
Mari dulu Jul, itu pasti jadi kamu udah. Maksudnya ini kan kita cuma teknik. Sudah sih, sudah. Siapa yang pasti.